I believe that everyone deserves a decent place to live. That's why my son John and I decided to make this film about how to build a microhome. This is the story about the little piece of land we have and how we built a microhome. Anyone can build one for less than the price of a clean used car. This is a little piece of land overlooking a nearby lake. Although we are not professional builders, John and I decided to build this microhome by ourselves just to show you that anyone can do it. John's my youngest son, and he puts up with all of my crazy ideas and helps me with all these projects I get started on. He's a real good son, and he also runs all my companies for me. So we staked off the 8-foot by 8-foot area for the tiny microhome on a good spot overlooking the lake. John and I hand leveled the lot ourselves just to show you it could be done. Now this particular unit is exceptionally small. Anyone could easily double the size, but the idea is to keep it as small as possible. That way there you save a lot of energy, because energy costs money, and people are having problems getting by today, so the more money we can save them, the better it is for them. My design is mostly solar and totally off the power grid. I think all homes should be that way, and someday they will. You can prefab your own microhome piece by piece and erect it yourself, and you'll certainly save a fortune. Now we have prefabbed the sill plate sections, and we're going to place them on the concrete blocks that we have leveled and nail them together. And then we'll reinforce the corners with plywood corner gussets that we made from scrap plywood. Notice how we staked it off in strung lines to keep everything square. Here are some views from above, so you can see how we reinforced the corners with the gussets that we made from plywood. We wanted this floor section strong enough so that if we wanted to move the microhome in the future, we could do it without breaking up the whole floor assembly. We used 2x6 lumber to make this whole frame assembly. Then we simply drop in the floor joist, placed on 16-inch centers, and nailed right through the frame from the outside. Be sure to check and make sure your floor assembly is level in 2 directions. Also check the floor assembly for squareness before you screw down the flooring. Now we're going to fabricate the 4 walls and erect them. Our webmaster, David Monist, is giving us a hand with this job. We just frame in the doors and windows, make sure everything is square, and nail it up. The floor platform is a great place to build your frames. Keep them square. This particular home will have a full sleeping loft. This will save a lot of space on the first floor. Now we're just about ready to start with the sheathing. The sheathing will cover the entire exterior of the building, including the roof. We applied our sheathing with a screw gun. It's very sturdy that way. Before we started to assemble the unit, we took all of the studs used in the framing and pre-drilled them for the wiring. Every hole is in the same spot on every stud. It's much easier that way. We do it on a drill press, and then when we're ready to wire, everything lines up perfectly. You will see what I mean as we go on here with the film. We may not be carpenters, but we are skilled in all kinds of engineering. We have constantly had to check in all directions for squareness while in the process of erecting this building. You can't get discouraged if you make any mistakes. We made several, and when we caught them, we just corrected them and kept moving forward. The next thing you know, the house was done. Now we're going to cover the exterior with moisture barrier. We cover the windows and all, doors, everything, and then we just cut X marks in it, fold the sheeting inside, and staple it down. I have shown you lots of examples here. Just imagine this tiny home, powered by solar electricity, solar heat, and solar hot water. What a way to live. Almost 100% energy free. And you don't even need a sewer connection. This home has a gray water system, and it also has a composting toilet. We build our own composting toilets and save thousands of dollars. Same way with our gray water systems. Get used to the idea of building your own equipment. That way you can afford your own home, and you can learn all of these skills on the internet. There's so much free information out there today, it's unbelievable. I didn't know how to do it, so I laid out the roof rafters on the basement floor. I chose the gambrel type roof because it gave me 4 feet of headroom upstairs in the loft. Then I built a holding fixture to make sure that each rafter was identical. I used the top of my work table. I'm used to building aircraft, so I put gussets on all the joints for added strength. We pre-nailed all of the metal holding clips to the rafters. That was to make sure that when we erected the roof, all the rafters would go in the proper place. The clips are on 16-inch centers. The next thing we did was to erect all the rafters. Now John did most of the work. He got very nervous with me because early on in the project I had fallen off a ladder on the side of the building, and at 77 he worries about me. I told him not to worry, I'm going to slow down as soon as I turn 90. This is just a series showing the progress that John made as he put the roof up. As you can see, it's really not rocket science. Again, just get everything level and vertical the way it's supposed to be. If it starts right, it will end right. John and I both learned a great deal in the process of building this micro home. If you take your time and do it right, anyone can do it. Believe me, most of what I learned from books I bought at places like the Home Depot. And library books. You don't have to buy books. There's plenty of information out there. If you study it and learn it and go along, and if you make a mistake, go back and fix it. And like I said before, just keep moving forward. It's well worth the effort when the project is finished. There is an unbelievable amount of information available on the internet. You can get an entire education today and never leave your home. John's just going to move right along now and finish off the roof. I stayed on the ground and cut the sheeting for him and handed it up to him. That saved a great deal of time. And then John just put it in place and screwed it down. John just tacked the sheeting down in a few places so that it wouldn't move around, and then he got right up there and screwed it down with the screw gun. If you look carefully up by the ridgepole, you can see the gaps that we left where the air can go out through the ridge vent that we're going to install when we put the roof shingles on. It's very important that you let your roof breathe heat and moisture out through the roof vent in order to keep your roof from rotting. Here are a few extra shots of the roof so that you can see all of the details involved. Then we're going to start on the wiring. You'll see how drilling the holes in advance in the studs makes a big difference. I was able to wire the interior of the building in a record time. I think it took me about an hour to do all of the 11 sockets in the building. I did the wiring alone so that John could work in the office. We were getting way behind on our work. Notice the electrical box, and also notice how all the holes for the wiring at various levels line up around the room. All these holes were pre-drilled on a drill press in our shop in advance of erecting the building. That little trick saved me an unbelievable amount of time. Time is money. The rest of these wiring photos will give you an idea of the details and how we laid it out. I think I went overboard with the number of plugs and sockets I installed, but I figured I might use the place for a garden office or something and would need a lot of plugs for my computer and my accessories. We are showing you both the wall and ceiling details here. We have wired the building for 120 volts AC. That's because we are going to use 120 volt solar electricity. We do that by using what is called an inverter. It takes the 12 volt solar electric that we gather from the sun and converts it or inverts it into 120 volt alternating current. It's a very ingenious system, but very simple. Inverters and solar collectors are very inexpensive these days, and they pay for themselves rather quickly. Just imagine never having to pay for electricity ever again. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And the same thing goes for the heating bill. Imagine that. Well, that's it for this film. I'll be very happy if even one person gets an idea out of it and builds himself a decent home, it'll make all of our efforts worth it. And we're going to continue on with our research and studies to continue to give the people of the world a better standard of living. We owe it to those who follow us to try and give them a better life than we had. What will you do before you leave? There must be something you can do. Please think about it. This is Walt Barrett, thanking you for watching.